Let's get rolling on a Tuesday and go to the Glasser guest line. It's Glasses in session, and we are joined by Chris Level, who joins us. Give Chris a follow on X at Chris Level, publisher for RedRaidersports.com, radio analyst for Texas Tech football, and host of the Locked On Texas Tech podcast as well. Chris, great to have you on, man, and some good timing. An unfortunate situation yesterday with running back Quentin Joyner tearing his ACL, so he's going to be out for the season. Talk about what kind of loss that is for Texas Tech, and who are some guys that you expect to step up in his absence.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, PJ. Injuries are the worst part of this of this time of year, and really just football in general. He was, Quentin was one of the guys that they brought in to, as part of that top portal class, if not the top, one of the top portal classes. I think it was kind of down to Tech and Ohio State after he left USC. I do think he would have been the guy that got the most carries this year. You're trying to replace Taj Brooks, who's now playing for the Bengals. And so you're going to transition now to a couple of sophomores that both played last year in Cam Dickey and Jacoby Williams. But does it hurt you? I mean, yes. Is it? But how big of a deal is it? That's going to come down to what the offensive line, which was rebuilt via the portal as well. If the offensive line is as improved as they hope, it not that it doesn't matter who's back there carrying it, but that's really what will tell the tale, because those two freshmen last year got some playing time, and they're sophomores now, and I think they've got plenty of talent, but do they have the room to run? And they're not probably quite as polished or experienced as Quentin, but yeah, not good news in Lubbock yesterday.
Do you think this changes the play calling at all, Chris, for the upcoming season? I know they're bringing in a new offensive coordinator. Have they talked about what they want their identity to be? Do they want a nice mix of run and pass? Did they want to be a run-first team, pass-first team? What was the identity? And do you think the Joyner injury, does that change it at all?
Yeah, PJ, you might as well be in Lubbock, Texas, because I've been asked that about 10 times just this morning. Hey, what's this mean? Mac Leftwich came from Texas State. He's kind of from the air raid tree, which Mike Leach made so famous, in the air raid offense. And here, I think Mac has typically wanted to be balanced. I think over the last 2 or 3 years, I think it's pretty close to 50-50. I would suggest now that I bet it's not going to be that this year. I bet it tilts more toward throwing it a bit more. Is that 55 or 60% of the time? Good question. But I do think it does alter the play calling just a bit, and it puts more pressure on that O-line and Baron Morton, the quarterback, to manufacture offense at times. Your running back room's a little lighter, a little thinner, a little less deep, and I do think that will affect some play calling for sure.
Now, Chris, we're going to talk about the number one portal class that Texas Tech brought in. I want to get your thoughts on some guys that you think could be impact players. But one place they did not go get a portal guy was at quarterback, and they're sticking with Baron Morton. They think he's going to be the guy. So what is it about Baron that Joey McGuire, that coaching staff, feels so strongly about, that they feel like they have their guy at that position and they didn't feel the need to go out and get somebody else?
One, he's a homegrown guy. This is the school where he wanted to grow up going to all along. So I think there's some sentimentality there, and that's I just give you some context. But he's had a bad offensive line or very average offensive line in front of him at times, and I think he's battled through some injuries at times. But he's 14-4 as a starter. I think that he played all 12 games last year in the regular season before he elected to have some surgery, because I don't think he was 100% last year. But, he has I think it was 27 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So it's a pretty good little ratio from touchdown interception ratio last year. And so I think they wanted to improve the parts around him. He's on some draft stuff. If you look at some of the Shrine Bowl lists and some of the award watch lists, I mean, he's definitely included. It's a loaded year in the Big 12 as far as quarterbacks. I think he's been slighted a bit, saying, "Oh, he's 8th best, he's 9th best." I mean, there's not many quarterbacks walking around at this level that are 14-4 as a starter, but he's got a lot of pressure on him. But I think there were several reasons why they felt strongly about him, but I think they feel like he can take them to a Big 12 championship.
So they're rolling with Morton as their quarterback, but as you mentioned, Chris, I mean, they bring in all these new guys through the portal. In your opinion, give us a guy or two that you really think is going to make a big impact from day one of the guys they're leaning on who they got in the portal.
Pick any one of the 4 defensive line starters that they're going to trot out there. They're all brand new. David Bailey, maybe the most highly sought after one. He transferred from Stanford in the spring. The NFL folks are saying, oh yeah, this guy is going to be a second or third rounder next April. I think Lee Hunter was a second team All Big 12 defensive tackle last year. He's 6'2", 6'3", about 320. And I could keep going on the defensive line, but those two guys I think have created a lot of buzz. And that's really where the strength of this portal class is. It's up front on that defensive line. I mean, they added basically 5 new pieces up there. They kept pretty much every bit of the guys that played the bulk of the snaps last year. So those guys are all now second or third team. And they mixed in a few pieces in the secondary as well via the portal class. But those two guys up front, and I could give you Romello Height and Skylar Gill-Howard, that whole defensive line is what's got everybody excited around here.
They also got a new defensive coordinator as well, Chris. They're coming off a disappointing year where they gave up nearly 35 points per game. Overall, how do you expect that defensive unit to look this year? Do you think it's going to take them some time? You know, their non-conference schedule, not all that difficult, so they do have some weeks to kind of gel before they get into Big 12 play. From what you've been seeing, talking to people, do you think this group is gelling pretty quickly, or do you think it might take them 3 weeks or a month or so?
It better gel quickly. It needs to be much better than it was last year. I mean, last year was just one of the reasons, or the main reason why you weren't in the Big 12 title game. You beat both of the teams that played for the title game, but you just couldn't get enough people stopped on defense at times. So that's where a lot of the motivation came from with the portal class. We got to get this side of the ball fixed. I think Sheil Wood has come in, formerly at Tulane, then he was at Houston, and Houston had a lot of problems last year, but defense wasn't one of them. And they trotted out a top 20, top 25 total defense last year. They just couldn't score enough points. I think he's actually going to keep it fairly simple schematically because I think with the talent that they've put together, they don't need to be crazy with these exotic schemes and blitz packages and all these different things. Jacob Rodriguez, the Big 12 preseason Big 12 Player of the Year, middle linebacker. You got all those guys I talked about up front. They've added a couple of DBs and then a mixture of the guys that are returning and all that. I think that'll be vastly upgraded. How much better is it though? Are we talking a top 30 unit, top 50 unit, top 70 unit? Because they were 122nd or something, I think, last year, and yet they were 1 win away from playing in the Big 12 title game. So if it gets a lot better, I mean, it could mean good things for Texas Tech.
We're talking Texas Tech Red Raiders here with Chris Level on Send It In. All right, Chris, want to get into the schedule with you because it's a difficult road schedule for Texas Tech in Big 12 play. They got road trips to Utah, Arizona State, and Kansas State, all teams definitely capable of winning the conference this season. Even with that difficult road schedule, do you still think Texas Tech has enough? Do you think they make it to Dallas and get to the Big 12 title game?
Yeah, PJ, this is one of the easier schedules I've seen Texas Tech have on paper in the last 20-something years. When you take Texas and A&M and Oklahoma and these schools with realignment off of your schedule, the biggest home game is against BYU. Which won't be easy, but this is and you mentioned the non-conference schedule at all. It's just there's not a lot there that should test you. This is going to come down to 3 games, in my opinion, and it's going to come down to a trip to Salt Lake City, a trip to Tempe, Arizona, and a trip to Manhattan, Kansas. If you can win 2 of those 3, I think you're in Arlington. Yeah, if you lose all 3, I think you're just you can't get there. If you win 1 of the 3, good question. I mean, that may come down to tiebreakers and all the different things, but that's, in a nutshell, it'll come down to those 3 games, and you're going to have to be able to win on the road or you're not going to get to where you want to go.
What do you think would be considered a successful year, Chris, for Texas Tech this season? Do you think it's the amount of wins, or do you think it's ultimately where they get, right? If they go 10-2, miss out on the Big 12 title game, do you think they can still consider that successful, or is it all about getting to the Big 12 title game this year with all the expectations they have?
I've talked about this kind of topic about every which way you possibly can this summer. Hey, what if you go 10-2, but it's not good enough to get to Arlington? What if all these different angles? To me, it's getting to Arlington. I don't care what that looks like. If that's 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, it doesn't matter. It's cracking the code to get to Arlington to play for a league championship, which you have never done. And I think there's some folks here that are very frustrated by that are embarrassed by it, that are, financially motivated by it, I mean, all the things. And I think Joey McGuire would tell you not only is it a failure if they don't get to Arlington, it's a failure if they don't get to Arlington and win. But I'm just saying, man, you got to get there first, and then you cross that bridge. But yeah, I don't think a win total matters near as much as just playing for a league championship.
Yeah, fair enough. Chris, we'll leave you with this in about 30 seconds. Which team in the Big 12 do you think is going to be the biggest competitor to Texas Tech this year? Who's the team that scares you the most?
Arizona State, just because I think they have so much back. They're battling complacency. That's their biggest issue. They have so much production back. I think Kenny Dillingham is really good at what he does, but it's complacency. Do they want to stay hungry, and can they win all those close games? But it would one, and then 1A would be Kansas State. That team makes me nervous as well.
Love it. Great stuff. Chris Level, give him a follow on X at Chris Level, publisher for RedRaidersports.com, radio analyst for Texas Tech football, and host of the Locked On Texas Tech podcast as well. Chris, really appreciate the time, man. Have a great season. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Hey, thank you so much. Keep hope alive. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.